Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
What's that impression?
I think it was Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey on Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Harry Carey.
When he's like, "You were a hot dog. Would you eat yourself?" Personally, I'd cover myself in mustard and relish and eat every last bit of me. Cubs win. Cubs win. You remember that?
You are my favorite person. Like, I just exposed my 15-year-old. Well, that's poorly phrased, but I
might
just
want to rephrase that, but that's all right.
exposed my kid to Anchorman last night. It's finally time that he gets the sexually overt office dynamic in the 1970s. And
you know what we exposed our children to last weekend?
What's that?
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Because the weekend before we watched Robin Hood Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Costner and what's his name? Oh, the villain. You know who I'm talking about, that guy. So we watched that. And so last weekend we did Robin Hood Men in Tights as a parody.
See, I think that's a prerequisite. I think, honestly, if I went to like a fourth
Alan
grade...
Rickman, that's who I was trying to think of.
If I go to a fourth grade classroom, I am going to take all of the socially really dynamic comedies from the 80s and push that in the faces of these pearl-clutching little softies. It would be my favorite thing to experience.
Yeah. You know, the next one my husband keeps trying to get them to watch is Austin Powers.
Yes.
So we do a lot of Austin Powers references, and it's like, you guys got to watch it.
Prerequisite to all children. Hear things that make them feel a little, a little bad.
And same with music. Our kids know a lot of classic rock. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because my daughter said a teacher recently was like singing some songs and my daughter would sing along and he's like, "How do you know all these?" And she's like, "I was raised right."
That's right.
And I said, "Heck
that's a parental win right there." Yes. And what I noticed, like, we listen to a lot of classic rock and watch older movies, and the sex and the topics that they sang about, all they did differently than today was that they did a very covert version of it. It was more masked in context, because like some of the movies I watched as a kid and I watch it today, I'm like, I can't believe that went right over my head.
Yeah.
Right.
Even watching Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, I haven't seen that in I don't know how long. And so watching it again as an adult, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice some of this stuff. I didn't even notice the little like details in the plot that just...
Yeah, but that it was incumbent on the writers to be able to create something that you had to figure out. There had to be a riddle, right? And it was good for the human brain to be able to, like, if it was funny, then I was going to talk about my feline friend that whatever, and I'm like, I know what you're talking about. But now you got Cardi B who's like, my way pudding,
and just like, sticks it out there.
Dude, come on. And that's the difference.
Yeah, kind of like it's funny that, remember people were trying to cancel the song Baby It's Cold Outside? Yes. And there's this comedian, it was so funny. He was talking about that. He would read the lyrics to Baby It's Cold Outside, and then he would read the lyrics from a Cardi B song. Yes. And it was like, wait a minute, this is okay, but this is not.
Yeah, we have a weird relationship with our history.
Yeah.
And we almost want to make that we're so sophisticated, we've moved on from things, and we really haven't. People just become a different iteration of something that has plagued humanity forever, like slavery, for instance. We talk a lot about things that are unpopular here. And do you want covert or overt slavery? Do you want to be able to take somebody and put them in an ownership relationship with you? And we would both argue that that's bad, right? Because nobody would want to be taken
enslaved.
Hostage, right?
Yeah.
But what if I did that through some sophistication, where I owned you and I didn't like say I owned you, but I, in every same respect, you become a slave just by, a more sophisticated version of it. It's still slavery. It's still people against their will being forced to do things they would not otherwise do. But yet we wrap it in things to make it a more palatable version of slavery. And that's where we're at today.
Yeah. We give it excuses or reasons. And
all right. So number one, when I did fill-in work at 570, the two biggest topics that pissed people off the most were my assault on Social Security and my assault on pharmaceuticals. that pissed people off more than any other topics that I brought up. Those are 1 and 2. So yesterday, a 2 p.m. Presidential speech, right? Michael Dell comes to the podium. Did you hear about any of this, by the way?
No, I totally missed this.
This makes me so freaking excited because Joe is the Matrix engineer. If I were to set things up to solve a problem, like not going in and solve the problem because it's been unsolvable since I've been a kid, but the setup to the solving of the problem. So Michael Dell, he donates $4.6 billion to the federal government, right?
Wow.
To fund a program for a year and a half, right? Okay. So all of 2026 starts on July 4th for the anniversary of our country.
Okay.
And funds it for exactly 1.5 years. And any baby that is born on the 4th going forward will have $1,000 deposited in an account for them that immediately gets invested into an S&P 500 index fund. That kid now has ownership of that money. Family, parents, themselves, they can go up to $5,000 per year in addition to what the original seed amount is and fund that investment forever. Capped at $5,000. All right.
Okay.
Sound good so far?
Yeah.
All right. So a year and a half donated by a billionaire, voluntary tax where he gets to do a method of philanthropy.
Yeah.
And get something started where every kid born after July 4th has an investment account that is theirs. Right?
Starting them
off. Now, I say that is the road to killing the hell out of Social Security. Killing it. Destroying it. Taking such a bad financial instrument and beating it into the ground until it is bloody and dead. The only path forward is to have some kind of competing something, right?
Yeah.
This is the origin of what competes against Social Security.
Is this going to be studied, like everybody that received this, once they're an adult, what happened to it, what they did with it?
Well, if you take mathematics, you could almost tell what's going to happen to it. So if you
I'm listening, but I got to grab a tissue. Keep talking.
If you take a plot of time between, for the last 100 years, the stock market has improved or increased in value by somewhere between 7 and 12%, right?
Yeah.
And so, let's just say when you started working, you take the money that went into Social Security and they gave it to you straight up. A portion of it that you put in and a portion of it that your employer put in, and you just had that money. Yeah. Do you think at a rate of following historical things, even at the worst times in our economy, do you think you would make more money having done it yourself or make more money by depending on Social Security?
Probably having done it myself.
For sure. Off the charts. Terrible deal. Should be criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying you're born, here's a lump sum, go invest it, use it wisely, let it grow into adulthood rather than pay into a system and we may take your money and we may use it for other things and we may not spend it wisely.
No, we're not going to spend it wisely. We're going to take all of it.
We most likely will not spend it wisely.
And when you want to take it back out, we're going to have to pay you in debt issuance.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than the money that you put into a non-lockbox, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to cripple our economy because we're going to owe so many people money that we misspent on lesbian basket weaving instead of what. So when you invest a 401k or you put something in a private investment, what are you actually doing? Where does that money go once you put it in a 401k?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't dabble in. My husband handles that. Okay. I probably should know more about it.
So an S&P index is basically, the top companies that are in the marketplace that are participating. Places like Amazon and Dell and Intel and Nvidia, and major companies that are constantly growing their business, hiring people. And when you have private equity, you're basically loaning companies to do expansions, right? You're giving them money. And then what they're going to do is you're a stakeholder in what that company does. They're using your money to grow operations. And when they make a profit, they'll take the profit and give it back down to an increased share value or a dividend for the people who own the stock, right? Mm-hmm. So the S&P, because it is the top performers of the stock market, are all companies that have huge growth potential. So your money gets to be a larger number than you put in there because you invested in a company that then grows their operations and make what you own of them more valuable than it was before. Okay. And an index fund allows companies that no longer grow to not be included anymore. So your money would constantly shifting in the companies that have a growth factor, right? You have the stability of being diversified in all different industries, what the S&P does, and big players in each one of those industries. So the benefit is when you take that baby and you give $1,000 to separated with a bunch of different companies, you're investing in the growth companies of whatever they are of that in that day, right?
Okay.
And then so when they get to adulthood, like so you get to 35 and you want to buy a house, you have money that you own that was invested in companies that grew 8% over the course of your life. And then you look at the number of dollars that you put in there, it could be worth $300,000 by the time that you buy a house. And say you dump your little, your baby fund that they gave you, and then you go buy a house. What does that change with home ownership and financial security with whatever kid, right? Didn't even know what they were doing, but the government was looking out for them and setting them up for some kind of ownership.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Right?
Yeah. This is amazing.
It's freaking amazing. And then if you make your own, you can make a contribution of around $500 a month in addition to what the government did. So your family can make a payment into this system, and you could be a millionaire by the time that you're going off into retirement. And you know what the throw off of interest is on $1 million if you put it in the stock market by the time your time to retire? Okay. Your $1 million would sit there, right? And let's just say we did 7% interest. You would be paid $70,000 a year or $80,000 a year and never have to touch the $1 million. You would just make $80,000 off of the interest that your investment is throwing off. And then when you die, like let's just say you figured out you're in your 50s or 60s and you're like, hey, 80,000 is enough to pay for whatever I got going on, just using the interest. Then when you die, what happens to that $1 million?
Does it go to your next of kin?
Goes to your heirs. Whoever you decide gets that $1 million. And now that generation has a starting point of $1 million plus whatever they did.
Could this also help the problem of AI taking all the jobs, and how are people going to make money? Well, you sort of have some money.
That's more complicated.
Huh.
It's more complicated.
Well, it sounded good.
Because AI is going to disrupt those companies that you're investing in, and whether or not they can, their markets don't change. Yeah.
So is it possible AI could ruin this for us?
I don't think so. I think it's going, it's a different subject, because I think that robotics and automations are going to come with regulation and taxes that basically take, if I have a fry cooker and I have a robot fry cooker, I know what the human being costs me, and I know what the robotics is going to cost me. So if I'm McDonald's and I'm comparing two things, even with a tax or regulation on the automation, I'm still going to be at a net positive, right? So let's just say your fry cooker makes $30,000, and the robot that you hire also costs $30,000. So equal cost, pay this person every year $30,000, or maybe the robot lasts 2 years before it's too banged up. So it cost me $30,000 one time, and then that's it. It's just a robot. Well, what does the robot do that the worker won't do? Can the robot work 24 hours a day? Does it take breaks?
No.
Does it have a bad day?
No.
Is it as efficient as you make it?
Does it have to go pick up its kids?
Okay, so at
go to a
parity
doctor's
for cost,
appointment.
Now, what would then a a company be willing to pay in taxation? Let's just say it's 1-for-1. So if I'm paying $30,000 for the robot and I have to pay a $30,000 tax on that robot per year, am I still at a benefit? When if you work an 8-hour shift and a robot that can work a 24-hour shift, I'm still going to get 3 times the productivity out of a robot than I did a human being, and none of the complication. It only cost me twice as much to have the robot as the human being, right? Mm-hmm. So the government collects $30,000, and then the old fry cooker that was making $30,000, you just take the revenue that the taxation generated and just give the $30,000 to the person who used to cook fries. And now still there's a fry cooker. The company's still able to operate as is. They get better efficiency, better work product out of the robot than they did a human being. And the person that's making $30,000, as long as they don't destroy themselves, which it's more likely they will, now is made whole. I that's how I picture this thing rolling out. So you can argue that if McDonald's was one of the stocks that you held in your $1,000 S&P fund, that McDonald's should be profitable times at least 33%, right?
Yeah.
And so your investment would still be good even if the robot was doing the job.
Interesting. Do you think the parents of these babies in the future will still cry, tax the rich?
Well,
tax the billionaires.
This is the perfect taxation. Because now a donor through philanthropy voluntarily gave money to jumpstart a system.
Wait a minute. I thought billionaires were all greedy and did nothing but screw people over, and they were just self-interested, and they just had loopholes of keeping their money out of greed and not helping anyone ever.
So the veil of we hate billionaires falls, right? When we have examples of people doing things like when you don't have taxation equals slavery, where we're not forcing people do something, and then you have someone that's not being forced to fund this deal, just stand up and say, hey, I want to do the right thing and fund this thing to show you how well it works.
Yeah. And this is for sure starting next
signed yesterday.
July.
Signed yesterday.
This is going to be so cool. What's the guy's name?
Michael Dell.
Yeah, Michael Dell, yeah. Is he going to be in history books, you think?
For sure.
He should be.
And what do you think the possibility? Like we built the banquet hall outside of the White House, donated by philanthropy. We had now the $1,000 per baby thing donated by a billionaire. Like this, think about, okay, so why would you do this? Every liberal, I'm sure there are people out there listening right now that say, this has got to be some kind of bribe. Why would somebody just give up $4.6 billion?
Yeah.
What's in it for them? Give me some hypotheticals, because we gotta answer this question before we just allow it to happen. Are billionaires allowed to just donate into government without being forced?
What's this guy do?
Dell Computers.
Oh, that's who it is? I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Dell. Does he think it might be good for his brand?
Absolutely. It's great PR. He was behind that podium because he got to make a generous donation.
Yeah, I can't imagine him not benefiting from that, either through the sale of Dell Computers or something along those lines.
Okay. Now, is the executive branch beholden to a major donor by giving them some kind of benefit in legislation or action?
I'm sure if he's like, hey, remember that time I gave you all this money to
Are you comfortable
set up
with
the
that?
American people?
Because it's literally the same thing that would happen if we were like, hey, we've got this program and it's going to be taxpayer funded and we're going to raise taxation on Michael Dell, so he's going to have to pay more, right?
Yeah.
Now we're forcing him to do it, so we can't say, well, he wouldn't have done it anyway, so there can't be a quid pro quo.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what exactly is in this thing that was signed. Like, are there stipulations? Are there protections?
Well, should you, if somebody did a favor, so somebody in Youngstown said, hey, government's having trouble building that bridge, Don down the road, he's got enough money to build a bridge, so he builds a bridge. Does that buy him favor within the government that now that he did something great for the community, if we did give him some benefit, wouldn't that be just helping a guy out that's willing to invest in his community?
I mean, I'm sure it does. It's human nature. Even if like you've got some sort of legal binding contract that states, by the way, you should not receive any favors for doing this. This is just an act of a good Samaritan. We're still human and we still know I do sort of need to.
But even if it was, what would that matter? Right? He gave 4.6 billion. And if you can't explain how he's going to get more than 4.6, what if he got exclusivity from the government where every government office was now having Dell computers and he's going to make $1 billion off of it. And then you look around and say, well, we got 4.6 and so long that it only costs us $1 billion to get 4.6, I would say that's a fair trade.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be villainry and getting quid pro quo as long as someone was giving into the community, right?
I mean, even what would his competitor say? Well, he now owns this massive market that we can't even sell to.
And he would say, well, you give $4.6 billion into this government project.
Yeah, maybe we go in together. I give this, you give that.
Now you're motivated to have voluntary taxation because when you do that, you get special treatment in the decision-making of the executive branch.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope. I'm not going to lie that this isn't better than, I mean, it's better than what we have, but it still has downside to it.
I mean, just like when we were talking about taking away government assistance to people who don't need it with the stipulation, either you work or you give back somehow. You give of your time, you volunteer.
Right. That would be the spirit of like, if you take benefits and you collect $30,000 and a year from it. And I say, what did you give back to the system that, you know, showed your thankfulness for having received something?
Yeah.
And there's going to be like some people are going to give $5,000 worth of good value back into the community by doing XYZ. Some people are going to give $60,000 more value than they receive from the actual benefit. And like you said, there's a way to measure this and weigh whether or not it's a net gain or not. I think, you know, we watched Bill Gates, right? Made his money. He's not an operator, not CEO anymore. He's spending his money however he sees fit on you know, whatever his pet projects are, and he's free to do that. It's his money. He's volunteering money into systems that if he was happy, he'd give money. If he was sad, he would stop giving money. So the systems are at least true. They're authentic versus saying, hey, we want to explore windmills and we're going to go to someone who doesn't believe in windmills and make them pay for it, where they're not going to be happy no matter what happens because you're not giving them. It wasn't a charitable contribution. It was taking money from them without their permission. Mm-hmm. So I would much rather have a voluntary system where you had quid pro quos happening, right, than theft and slavery happening where you're taking things against people's will.
Yeah, even if you're doing something because you're getting something in return, you're still doing something positive.
Exactly.
It's still benefiting rather than just taking away.
Yeah, but my auditors, instead of fleecing people and using the, you know, law enforcement to steal from people, you have auditors to make sure that there aren't conflicts of interest that are being exploited. And they're just doing a different thing. And I'd much rather them be over here.
This is so interesting.
And, you know, arriving at Social Security, like my 15-year-old asked me when I was talking to him about this topic, he said, is there any way that I can opt out of Social Security? Like, is there a point where they're going to give me that option? And I'm like, sorry, buddy, you haven't received any paychecks. You haven't paid into it, but you will break the system if you don't give your contribution, because there's an old dude right now, right, that needs your inflow of money in order to pay his bills. And you work for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone's retiring and they're going to live off of you for a while.
Yeah. So the downside is it's going to take 20 years to what's happening this July to have any noticeable differences in people being independent from the government teat.
20 years.
20 years.
I might be around to see that.
Well, is government going to be in its current state to keep doing this? Like, is the next president going to come in there and say,
that was going to be my next question. Can anybody come in and kill this?
yes, absolutely.
So you know what this is going to be?
What's that?
This is going to be just another freaking political football.
It is.
People are going to be like, oh, they came in and they cut this great thing. And then someone else is going to be like, I'm going to reinstate because it'll make me look good. And
Social Security is the third rail of politics, right?
Yeah.
Very unpopular to touch it, talk about it, do anything with it. And so the next time you get a Democrat in the executive, they're not only going to undo what's happening right now, they're going to make it so that it is the worst decision that's ever been made. And they are going to frame it as never even try this. There's no Republican that should ever make this call again because they will be destroyed because of it. That's how powerful the Social Security pyramid scheme is.
And I would think this Dell, he's got to know that. He's got to know the potentials in doing this.
Right.
Of like, hey, we could get going next July. This could look really good. And then it could all be for naught.
Yeah. 2.5 years in the future, new Democrat president, and all of this is undone.
And we hope that people are paying attention now as to what it is and the potential it has and the good it can do. And when someone comes along and undoes it, they see that. They see exactly how that works.
There's going to be no benefit for a decade or more. So it's going to be hard to wrap some marketing around and tell people how good this thing is when now, 5 years from now, you have a 5-year-old that can't be super happy that they have $1,000 in an account that was contributed
Especially in this day and age that everybody is so short-sighted and they need that immediate gratification and they don't see how something's going to work down the road. They just want to know, how's it going to feel right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's risky. It's
So
risky.
if you could opt out of Social Security, would you?
Yeah.
Just from this point on, take the money that was in and keep the employers fucking out of it.
Yeah.
Out of it.
I would say, let me just take my money and invest it or put it in areas that I trust and government can't touch it.
Yeah.
It seems safer. For sure.
And there are private pensions that allow people like teachers, for instance, they don't have to put in on Social Security. They put the same amount into a private pension. Well, even a private pension is about to go belly up and bust. Private pension collected from you, given to somebody else in a corrupt Department of Education and teachers unions. And they still found a way to squander all that money.
This is why. Do you think one day people will just go back to like burying their money in the yard?
But as long as it's illegal to not do something, like you're not given a choice, you have to do those things. As soon as I give you the opt-out ability, those things disappear, and then you can protect what you have. Individual property rights has been an experiment that throughout history has proven what work. Thanksgiving's a good example. There's a sort of a thought experiment that goes along with what pilgrims did and what worked and what didn't work. Okay. Mm-hmm. So pilgrims came to a village, right? And they did communal socialism, right? It was just, everything was everybody's and nobody had property rights. And so the efficiency of people caring enough to do something for the common good when there's no ownership in any of it. This isn't my corn or my land or my house. Right? I'm willing to work less for something when it's not really mine. So we learned that if we segment it out and give you your plot of land and the corn that you grow is yours and the house that you own is yours, then you work harder to protect it and defend against it. So the coffee can of your money in the backyard is you staking out and saying, this is mine, right?
Yeah.
And nobody can touch it or do anything with it. But the socialists in our society, they take little slices of property rights, like your home ownership. It's either yours and nobody can touch it, but the government's like, hey, we're going to do property taxes, and if you don't pay, we're going to take your home. And you're like, well, wait a minute, that home is mine, right?
Yeah.
And if you can just take it from me, then it's not really mine. So the illusion of home ownership we get away from, and then eventually, common sense Americans say, time out. we were willing to concede because it felt good to help other people, that we're willing to go along with it. But once you start leveraging me based on what you think you own, I'm going to pull out my firearm, put it over my shoulder, and I'm going to defend my property lines on what I know is mine. And think about, your paycheck. Do you really own your paycheck, or is there a lot of other people at the trough of your paycheck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me something that you for sure own that can't be taken away. Your bank account. Do you think that's yours?
Probably not.
So if the IRS came to your bank and said, give me all this person's money, and the bank's like, okay, not really yours. There's another person at that seat. So really, there are very few things that are properly insulated from other people who think they're in control and can make decisions about you, your freedom, and your
I don't
money.
know a single thing I own.
You don't.
I even almost said, my kids, those can be taken away.
Yep. So anyway, the pendulum of socialism has skewed so far in one direction that this Michael Dell thing puts capitalism back into the conversation again. When you give something that the government can't touch, the parents can't touch, this is the sole ownership of this person, that's it, that's all.
Yeah.
Now, you're looking at a 15-year-old that eyeballs something they truly own that nobody else can touch as them, and it starts reorienting their brain that knows there is things that you shouldn't be entitled to that I think I own. And it brings that pendulum back.
Well, that's good.
The
parents can't touch this.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to property tax, what exactly is property tax for? When they tax someone through a property tax, what is that money used for?
So allocation of public services.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to the county and the state. The state then gives that money back to municipalities that apply services to
right.
us. So if you're paying 4% of your property value every year, then they basically look at your valuation and they just take 4% from you to pay for things like road, police, bridges, any budget item that the county or the state has.
Why is it not just county infrastructure tax? Like road crew, firefighter, EMS, police tax?
Well, it's the thing is that it is I'll refer to it as an early scrape, right? If I send someone a bill, like an invoice, they can pay it or not pay it. And there's a percentage of people when they receive a bill, they just decide not to pay it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just took their money before they even saw it, that's an early scrape where I could just send it to someone and you weren't really given the chance to say yes or no. I don't even know what's coming out of it. I take it right out of your paycheck. I take it right out of your mortgage payment. Like, I don't care if you want to pay it or not. I'm going to take it. And the government gets the luxury of having an early scrape revenue item. If it was like, hey, you live in my community and you own a house here and schools are going to make your property values more worthy and your kids are going to get an education, I'm going to just take my costs and send you an invoice for your portion of it. We got 60,000 people that live in our community. We're going to evenly divide it amongst all people. You're going to receive a bill for what city services are. And then you get to see, what do you mean it costs my kid $197 every day that they go to school? That's too much. But when we do early scrapes and we hide costs from people, they pay it more willingly.
Yeah.
If only, let's just say every April, you had to write a year's worth of taxation to the federal government. Do you think you'd be more opposed to government spending than you are if it gets drafted from your checking account or your paycheck before you even see it?
Yeah.
That's an interesting deal, right? That's a pretty...
Sort of makes you take a look at it.
Right. But when I have to cut a check and it's a big check every year, and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm not getting good value for this.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I was out shopping with my daughter and she made a comment like, oh, I can't wait until I get my own paycheck and I can come out and buy this stuff. And I was like, oh, you're so naive. I was like, you think your paycheck is yours? Like, here's the money in your paycheck. Here's what you actually get. Mm-hmm. All the rest is gone before you even really touch it. And I think that's something we all know in the back of our minds, but just, I don't know, maybe it hurts too much to look at it. You just grin and bear it and say, there's nothing I can do. But if it were like, I'm sitting down and actively paying out my money to all you people, yeah, they'd be like, what am I getting for this?
Exactly. And that's how like socialism takes these tiny slices to get to the point where you're just, everything is taken from you. Like you work, it's all given to the government. They figure out what you're due back, and they just send your allotment. And they're like, hey, I'm going to take care of hospitals. I'm going to take care of fire, and I'm going to take care of this. We got all of this. You're good. Here's your portion back. And so long that, I mean, if 30% of everything you make, right? So January to April, right? All of that you worked goes to the government. If when you square that in your brain and like, so I showed up that day, the government didn't show up that day, but yet I'm giving them money, everything from January to April, they're figuring out. And you're like, oh, I'll just learn to live off of April through December. And everybody's, been conditioned to this point to be okay with that. I'm like, hey, good businesses are ones that you get to say yes or no to. And if they make you happy, you're willing to give them more business. And if they make you sad, you don't give them any more business.
Yeah.
And, cable internet was the same deal. So you paid a monthly fee for 800 channels of TV, right? Each one of those channels got a portion of your money, right? Now, you can argue that there are some channels that you don't even like, you disagree with, terrible content, but you paid them against your will. So then Cut the Cable came along where it's like, hey, just pay the people that you watch.
Yeah.
And then you know what happened to a lot of those really dumb channels? They went out of business.
They went away.
Because the only reason they existed is because you were forced to give them a check every month. The minute that you decided that you had choices, you said no to them. And they're like, oh, no, this is outrageous, right?
Yeah.
How dare you, Kelin, not want to pay something you didn't watch? It put me out of business.
Yeah, I mean, we do that with streaming services. If it's like, hey, I need to save some money and I don't really watch these shows anymore, I'm getting rid of that and cut that and cancel that. And
so that's why I disagree with the omnibus budgets. A crammed in budget package that has 60% of the stuff you like and 40% that you just have to vote for to get the 60% that you like.
Yep.
And so if you looked at every program that needed funded, do you think like the legislature does not work a whole lot? They do not work 8-hour days, 240 days like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
But if you separated everything that they were voting on and made sure everything was a vote, their job would be a lot harder. It would take a lot more time.
It would be a full-time job.
It'd be a full-time job. And $200,000, maybe that should be a full-time job.
Yeah.
But instead, they cram a lot of those good and bad things together, and we end up getting like $2 billion worth of lesbian basket weaving in there, only because we wanted to fund the military and, make the subsidies for healthcare available. So you hold your nose and you vote for the name me a channel on cable that was just stupid and you can't believe it existed. What has gone away in a little while? Like
a channel that
went bye-bye.
Is the one? No, I think that was PBS. Never mind. I don't know. I can't think of one.
They just disappeared silently and you never noticed their passing.
Yeah.
That was kind of a good thing. But anyway, there is assured that there's some channels that went bye-bye. And only because that nobody would have subscribed to them for their $2 a month that they were getting from your cable bill. And when it stopped being forced, they went bye-bye.
Kind of like those little local. I remember when I was down south, there was always a channel that was just local content and stuff, and
funded by the cable. And they gave a buck here and there. Nobody actually
watched it. It was terrible, like
terrible programming, terrible
production.
Yeah. So overall, I think voluntary taxation, right? Where if you live in a community and they say, hey, we want to put up a new building on this corner, have it to vote. And then the people are like, yeah, that's a really good use of my money versus nope, that's not a really good use of my money. And then things you don't want to be funded that would never fly if you put it in front of the people, those things just disappear forever. And if you want to tax billionaires, let them do what Michael Dell is doing and do it voluntarily because they believe in something and they're willing to front the banquet hall or the the $1,000 newborn fund. All right, Jerry says there was ice in spots outside, and it was cold, but I'm glad the two of you, as well as myself, made it to the office safely today. Yes, Jerry.
Yes.
And I do complain about this, and I have for my entire life, how freaking soft and awful people are. And
snow days.
Yeah.
Man, you should go live down south. We would, when we were down south, because they don't have salt trucks and things to prepare for icy road conditions. I can remember Friday afternoons, school would close already for Monday because there's a chance of snow.
See, and that's more acceptable. Taxpayers up here, we buy all of the equipment, we buy the brine, we buy the salt.
We know it's coming.
We have the staffing. We can deal with it because it's built into the fabric of living in Northeast Ohio, right?
Yeah.
There should never be a flat-footed scenario. And I just think we take liberties to be able to like make the wussification of people even more permanent by, conditioning the next generation that they would die in 2 seconds in a civil war.
So is there ever an instance, a condition that you would say, yes, necessary, stay off the roads? Like sub-zero temperatures, there's nothing we could do about it. The salt's not helping. The conditions are just so much snow in such a short amount of time. Like, has there ever been a condition that you were like 100% all non-essential things should be closed today?
It would be an asterisk. Those probably have not happened as often as we pretend that they're happening. So yes, if you can make the argument that it was unforeseeable, the timing was wrong, we were ill-prepared, we made a mistake, and the next time that you do it, you make it a little bit less likely for that to happen, because the overall cost of that is immense.
Yeah.
Right? And, our economy suffers when we do dumb things, and we do a lot of dumb things. So my goal, if I was a social engineer in government, I would have a press conference about how something we didn't want to happen, like, kids and teachers and schools. What if you knew that collectively in our area, 2 IQ points just dropped off of the leaderboard in the aggregate for our kids? We made kids dumber, so they went home and played Fortnite all day, right? And now everybody's dumber because of it. So you said it's a safety concern versus it's a the dumbing down of society, which is more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, if it's, and I'm talking about extreme conditions, if it's you lost 2 IQ points or you lost your life,
yes,
I'm gonna say IQ points.
But in the aggregate, what if 100 lives are lost because you made dumber people in the aggregate?
Well, I guess that's a possibility.
Yeah. So that's why math people, right, have to be in charge of things, right? So if you had 3 people that were on a drug boat coming from Venezuela, and the stuff that was on the boat is going to come to your country and kill 25,000 people, right? You can make the argument on, do you kill 3 people to save 25,000 people? And you roll all of that math out, where I'm not advocating for either killing or not. I'm just putting it in front of you to see what the real social cost is by making weak, stupid people, and what they're going to do to future communities when you got dumb people who will buckle in, in dangerous territories.
But you would also have to argue the fact that day missed will in fact lead to lower IQ points and dumber people.
How can it not?
I mean, let's say it's a day that the teachers were like, hey, you know what? It's the end of, I don't know, a 9-week period. It's the end of this lesson. We're wrapping something up. It's going to be kind of a low-key day. We're just reviewing. Maybe one teacher's out and it was a substitute anyways, which we all know means you're watching a movie that day. Whatever. If they're like, there's not a whole lot of solid learning today, and to be closed and potentially save a life,
well, that's an indictment on our education system. Yeah. If going to school doesn't improve your IQ,
then
not
that's
going to
what I'm
school.
saying is you would have to argue the case that it's worth it get there.
Then I would just dry up all of schooling. If I send my kid there and they don't gain IQ points for being there, then not sending them, there's no detriment in doing it. Why am I sending them there anyway?
Yeah. I mean, I can remember, and the only reason I'm even pushing back at all, because I don't love snow days now that I'm an adult and I have to worry about the kids. I can remember in high school driving to school one day here, and school was not closed, but the roads were real icy. Mm-hmm. And I turned onto 170 and just kept going. My car just totally slid, went sideways as a semi is coming right at me. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like trying to turn it back around. And I finally get back in my lane as the truck goes by, and I slide onto school. And I'm just like, why are we even doing this? Had I been killed, there's probably a handful of people that would have been like, was it really necessary? Did we really need to go that day? And it cost someone's life.
Okay, so you're taking inexperienced, untrained drivers,
yes,
and using the people that aren't fulfilling the responsibility of being a driver as the reason why people who can make it their way to work, disrupting all of those people.
But who goes to the school? Kids, teenagers, aka inexperienced drivers. That's who's going. So that is sort of the demographic. They can't really help
Again, an indictment. Why are we putting inexperienced drivers? Like my 15-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. I take a car to an empty parking lot that is icy and snow, and I have them spin out and lose control and do corrective measures and teach them how to not be a danger to other people. Yeah. The speed that you have to go on ice, how ice works, how control of a vehicle on icy, snowy conditions works, what to do and what not to do. So what you're saying is that we create a complete ban that day from doing anything productive for the dumbest and most irresponsible people of our society.
Well, what sucks is that it is a ban on anything productive. Because I think some people think you're not banning everything. You're just saying these kids aren't going to school. But if the kids don't go to school, then the parents have to watch the kids, and then the parents don't go to work.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like both sides of the equation has disruption. So it would be better if we would say, like, if your kid was a good driver and they had a fairly safe way to go to school. So instead of canceling school, we just say, hey, all dumb people stay home, right? And then everybody who can go still goes. Maybe that's 90% of the people that can figure out.
Do you think the kids aren't going to say, oh, I'm dumb, I can't go?
That is my point. That is the premise of a snow day. Because here's the thing. This is sort of 13-year-old. I'm going to call it 13-year-old logic, right?
Yeah.
When it's like, hey, if it's it's super cold and it's snowing and it's really dangerous conditions, and do you feel safe enough to go to school today? And they're like, no, it is so freaking dangerous. I cannot go to school today. And then like an hour later, their friends call up, hey, you want to go sled riding? All of a sudden, all of the danger you saw when you didn't want to do something evaporates, and you figure out how to go sled riding on a day that was too dangerous to go to freaking school.
Well, because normally they say we have to cancel because right now during the morning commute is dangerous. But then the sun comes out and the temperatures raise and the ice melts, and it's not bad the rest of the day.
Yeah, of course. You can do all kinds of things. Like, I'm in so much pain, I cannot go to work. But I'm not in so much pain that I can't do blah, 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 blah. That is what human beings do.
I wonder how you would react to this instance. I can remember I was in elementary school, maybe 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade-ish, and our school went on strike. The teachers were on strike. Right. And it was a while. Like a good chunk of the school year was gone. There was no school. We didn't go to school for days and days and days while the strike was on. What would you have blown a total gasket if that were the case?
Oh, I would immediately put my kid in a different school.
Yeah.
One that holds people hostage to get what they want is not somebody I want educating my kid.
I mean, I was a kid. I can't imagine parents like, are you kidding me right now? Like all the parents who had young kids and no childcare, and they're like, I can't go to work now because my kid can't go anywhere.
Yeah, that disruption. And think what you're modeling. Teachers' job are to model for children. So if they want chocolate cake and they really feel whatever, they're going to go to hunger strike, and they're going to say, oh, my teacher did it when they wanted something. They just decided they're not going to teach me anymore until they get what they want. I learned that from my educators, and that's not an education I want my kid to get.
Yeah. I have to go back and ask my parents what they did when that happened. I think they were lucky enough to they had schedules that they could sort of offset.
Yeah, I think in any industry that if you strike and I say, all right, you suck, and I'm just going to bring in other teachers that would love to have this job. You're gone. They're not. And then you're like, oh, maybe we should take a different strategy and tactic.
The replacements.
Right? Blackmail, probably not a good strategy you want to teach kids to do when they don't get their way. 13-year-old mentality followed through with adults.
Yeah. Tracy says the leftists are making it out that innocent people are being targeted without fully knowing the folks on the boats are transporting drugs. So what? This is the whole, did Hegseth kill some innocent people by blowing boats up?
Okay. Are you uncomfortable if the military takes any action on anybody? Terrorist, narco, whatever. Are you uncomfortable with life being taken?
I guess not if it's necessary.
What's necessary?
Terrorists that want to come and actively harm us.
Okay, so you have a vehicle with mustard gas in it that's driving down the road that if it gets in certain hands, we know it, our drone's over it, we've got a missile locked on it, we take out the mustard gas and all the people that are willing to jump in a truck with mustard gas and deliver it to other people. Yeah. You would say that's a pretty good trade-off, right? People are going to die, but those people have willingness in their heart to take other lives, and they're in it, right? Yeah. So we say, hey, if you are a participant, we're going to be really sure that it is mustard gas there, and you are willingly part of something that we have declared not going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. We take you, we relate it, we communicated it. So if I'm in Venezuela and I go do a poll or anywhere in that area and say, hey, if today you decide that you're going to transport drugs, do you know the position in the United States, what they're going to take on your boat as it's skimming across the water? They're going to say, yeah, there's a big likelihood that I'm going to be blown up. Those people know what position the United States has taken because everybody knows about it. We published the videos of it happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So my only objection to this whole narco thing, the people that we project our ideals in the United States to other countries.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say you have a country that is managed by major industry, the drug trade, right? Bob, right? The actual, trafficker is like, I don't want to be freaking blown up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find somebody, walk into the village, take somebody hostage, and this is Mary, and I'm going to hold a gun to Mary's head and say, hey, Bob, if you don't jump on this boat right now and deliver this out to where we want you to, your wife is dead. And now Bob jumps on a boat. He is there against his will. He's only there to save his wife. And then the United States comes along and says, oh, traffickers. Now, when you take out that boat and you take out Bob, yes, you took the payload out of the equation, but Bob really wasn't a trafficker. He was a pawn that the drug lords took advantage of, used.
He was a hostage?
He was a hostage to what was happening. And now you can say, just don't do it. When it comes down to it, Bob really wasn't a willing participant. He was there by hostage, and you killed Bob, right? It is a tale of tragedy if that's the scenario that happened.
Yeah.
So I have faith that, law enforcement will try to preserve innocent life wherever it is. And if Bob gets, caught in that whole thing, that the United States will rescue Bob from that situation by not only boarding the boat, finding out who they're dealing with, taking those people into custody, interrogating them to find out what the real situation was, send in SEAL Team 6, rescue Bob's wife that's being held hostage by the narcos, and then the narcos get killed by the SEAL Team 6. That's how I want it to go down in a perfect deal. So I'm not entirely happy with the trigger happiness of just blowing shit up thinking that we're dissuading the boats from happening. Because if it were just narco terrorists, there would not be a single boat to destroy, because they would have got the message that all of their people are just going to get destroyed if they even do it. Right?
Yeah. Well, and we would have to know that the Bob hostage situation is real. Or is it just terrorists on their way? And in order to persuade us to not blow them up, here's the narrative created that, it's innocent people.
What would be the downside of taking, having the drone identify the boat it's happening, making an approach by another vessel, pulling them over, making them put down their arms if they had any, and taking them into custody, and then blowing up the boat after people are there? What would be the upside downside?
It would be a huge upside if it works. But a downside if their lives are in danger because the person is instructed, kill anyone that tries to come stop you.
Yeah. When it comes to military operations and the way that they've classified anybody who deals in this as someone, right? That means it's fair game. If it's a terrorist in mustard gas or, an innocent Bob on whatever, they are now combatants no matter what it is. If if I got my drone and I see that they've got a bunch of, cases of drugs or big barrels of something, they got 4 motors off the back and there's 3 of them that are on the deal. And I see they've got a weapon, any kind of weapon, they get blown up because no non-combatants, right, would have weaponry on here.
Yeah.
This is an innocent guy that's being forced to drive the boat, then they're not going to have a grenade launcher next to them, right? So
why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they say, take this with you and use it if someone tries to stop you? I mean, what is he going to say? No? They're like,
he's
okay,
there to
then
save
we'll kill
his
your
wife.
wife.
He's not complicit in it. So it is already a very dirty game, and what terrorists and narco-terrorists are willing to do to get their drugs to where it is.
Yeah.
You can say from the aggregate that there are probably less drugs that made it here. If that was the pathway that those boats were taking, there's probably less that came in. But I think that they're well-funded. They are a military and a government amongst themselves. And while they're distracting us with Bob's boat that probably doesn't have much on it anyway, they found 5 other ways to get their stuff in there. Whether or not it's packed on an airplane or some other way, they'll figure it out. You ever watch the show Landman?
No.
You gotta watch it.
I know it looks good.
So good.
This is the one with Billy Bob Thornton and Ali Larter.
Yeah.
I get served like reels about it on Facebook, but I've never seen it.
It's good.
Is that what this is about?
Well, they are doing oil and gas drilling in southern Texas, and it's right on by the border. So there's a lot of drug lords that occupy the same territories as the people that are doing the oil and gas, and they sort of have like an agreement that you don't F with us, we won't F with you. And there's a lot of entanglements between the two groups where they do get in each other's way because the drug people are stealing airplanes, using the oil airplanes to fly in drugs, and then giving the airplanes back to the oil people. And the oil people are like, well, they only have it for a little bit. I'm not even going to report it stolen. And then you have this whole
sort of like enabling each other.
But it's interesting. There's probably a lot of truth into how that operates in southern Texas. And you multiply that times 100 when it's state sponsored.
If someone's like, I'm making good money and I'm successful doing what I'm doing, and if that means all I have to do is look away while you go do
your options are fight them and they'll kill me, or turn a blind eye and
then go on with my day.
That's exactly right.
And make my money.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. And that's why if we do take military action in South America and we go after state-sponsored drug dealers, then that has a higher impact in that whole thing, because the power that they possess is because they can operate as an entity that looks like a state, right? So if Venezuela has one industry and you can put one of your dudes in powers of position, that's a lot of power to inflict on the rest of the world, because you can do it under legitimate guise.
Yeah, it is such a hard decision too, because if somebody's bringing something so dangerous it could kill Americans, but the person bringing it is an innocent hostage, and it's them or us.
That's the whole state of Venezuela.
Yeah.
It has the people's support. They voted, or maybe against their will voted. Their money comes from that industry. Their leaders are people involved in that industry, if not directly, then at least captured by those. So when you're fighting Venezuela as the country, you're really just, like if we were to say, let's take out the leader, Maduro is, let's oust him, right? Now what? Right? You don't think that the takeover of the drug industry that still exists is not going to just elect a different Maduro that's going to go in there and do the exact same thing? They have no other industries. The whole country is built on something that, they export to the United States and the world.
Is there any way, and I realize this is probably far more in depth and is going to take a while, but is there a way we can somehow get them into a new industry that the drug running would lose its value?
Not as they've got as much prosperity they have, which is not much, would be dwarfed if they got into a legitimate industry. Like what would you even feed them?
Well, if it's already not much, I would think there's others that would be similar.
Culture's different though. Yeah. Right. So you'd have to shift you have to take out the leader, elect a noble leader,
change the mindset,
change the culture, create an industry, and basically just make Venezuela a 53rd territory.
Teach them all how to live completely different lives.
And that's the problem when you have interventionalism. Like I'm a libertarian, so I defend against other countries from making an impact, but I'm not here to make you different. If you want to be terrorists and drug dealers, my job is to keep you off of my borders. So if we dissuade it and make somebody else a bigger candidate, like if Russia goes after Europe, well, guess what? We're not Europe. And all we've done is made Europe a better target than the United States. We've done our job. We're non-interventionalists. The downside is that when you allow Russia to conquer Europe, then future battles between what becomes of Europe and what the United States has to face, you have to figure out whether or not that's we destroy Russia so they don't take over Europe, World War II kind of an engagement. And it's going to be a gradient of what you're comfortable with. Non-interventionalism sucks long-term. Yeah. Interventionalism sucks both long-term and short-term. There's not a non-suck version of this unless you take over every country, right?
Yeah.
And they become all U.S. territories, and we take all of our virtues and we force everybody into our own virtues.
Well, and that's never going to happen.
No, it's not. That's why I would not want to be in that arena ever, because it's non-winning no matter what you do.
Which is why, and I've said this before, it's so funny. The keyboard warriors that know so much more than everybody else in it. Mm-hmm. The people that can so firmly stand on how stupid or dumb or inexperienced someone in our government is. And I'm not saying that's never the case. But they know so much more, and we shouldn't be doing this, or we should be doing this, as though you know something. You don't know anything. Mm-hmm. You're not there. You're not in it. You don't have the intel. You're getting bits and pieces of information on the news and think you and your way of thinking is better than theirs. That's like our whole environment, our whole society is that. That's probably so annoying to me. And every election year, you hear all of a sudden experts on economics and war and just everything that, Joe Schmo in his basement knows more than all the heads of government that have been briefed on all the information.
Are you ready to concede that we are doomed? We are doomed.
In what way?
So we live in a complicated, sophisticated culture here in the United States, and you couple that with a sophisticated, complicated world that we live in, where there's no decision you can make that is either binary, yes, good, or no, bad. Everything is a fair bit of good for one person and bad for another person. No decision could be made. So you basically have to have warring ideas, where I throw out good ideas, you throw out good ideas. We have an average of our ideas, and we only do things that we don't do any things I want. You don't get anything you want. We do things that are safe and vanilla and boring, right? If we do that, then we it's not fixing anything, but it's making it so that anybody has a higher beta than you, right? They suffer the consequences, and you're just kind of boring.
Yeah, there is never any innovation, any change, any
that's apathy, right?
Progress.
So that's your choices. Either you do the safe thing and you stay right where you're at, or you do risky things and you have risk evaluators. People are good at math, helping you make decisions when taking all things into account. Right?
Yeah.
So if you were like, let's do a stupid example, but it kind of illustrates this. So let's just say that we need more medical research, right? And we need many, many more placebo groups. We need a lot of people that to compare not doing something with doing something. And so I give you sugar pills, right, instead of the pharmaceuticals. Mm-hmm. How many people in the United States do you think would die because they took a sugar pill? What if that number was 1,000 people that you consider something relatively safe, and doing the research saves a bunch of lives, but you're going to have to take 1,000 people and make them die to be able to get to your saving lives part, right? It would be great if you can just say 0 people died and everything was good, but that's not a single decision that's in local, in national or international politics. Everything is going to have a detriment and a downside to some people. And there's got to be people that calculate to make the less bad thing happen. Right? With reasons. The famous 80-year-old on the train tracks versus the 15-year-old. Somebody's got to die, and you got to decide as an actuary which one you're going to choose to die.
Yeah. If somebody said, listen, I think we have a very real cure for cancer. Mm-hmm. All cancer. Cancer can be eradicated. Nobody dies from it ever again. I am putting all my stock in this drug. I know it can do this. Problem is, we got to test it on humans. Mm-hmm. There's one little tweak.
Well, first of all, let me correct that. There will never be a solution in our lifetime from this point forward that is going to have something that you get a value without a human cost.
Yeah. If they're like, we got to test it, and it could kill a few people. Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing?
But again, it would eradicate cancer forever and save millions of lives in the future. But it's probably going to kill this group.
Yes.
Would you do it?
Well, that is, like I said, when you do the thought experiment with the 80-year-old versus the 15-year-old, you're going to have to take things that different metrics in that. Like, why would you decide to kill the 80-year-old? Well, you're going to have some rationalizations that have to be a standard of virtue. Of who gets to die. You don't get to pick the non-die thing. So if you cure cancer, but you kill 1,000 innocent people, is that worth it to you? If you kill 3 Bobs on a boat to save 25,000 people, right? Would you do that? There's never going to be a universe. Like, if you don't like the thing, you've got just cause and criticizing that thing, because people are literally going to die.
And because we do this. This does happen. AKA the military. Do you think we sent men and women in uniform off to do something and we did not know, by the way, there's a big group that will die doing this.
Yes.
But it's going to save whatever. It's going to benefit the country. It's going to benefit Americans. But we know at least this many will be killed. And we do it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a new thing.
Yeah, and we'll only oppose it if we are personally affected by the decisions. The ones that we're not affected by, we don't care whatsoever. And that's an easy thing to do politically when you take issues that have no, voter victims. Right? It's easy to pass those things along. Julie, if we were serious about the drug war, our president wouldn't have been pardoning the biggest and baddest.
See, and that's the thing. And I'm not saying Julie's wrong. I honestly don't know. But it's just sort of interesting to look at it as, how do you know we're not serious? How do you know these are the biggest and the baddest? Is it because you were told by the news they are? Like, why would he pardon them? Does he know something you don't know? Like, you see something happening and you assume you know. And you know why people are doing it. You know why this is the situation. And it's like, you're not there. You don't know these people. You don't know the intel they have. You don't know what they're doing. Though,
if the opposition didn't levy those kinds of things about literally every decision. I would actually I don't even feel obligated to look this one up.
Yeah.
Because in the parade of things that you levied, as it's an irony, right?
Yeah.
For sure. It's interesting. Probably enough curiosity for me to see who was pardoned if they're an unserious example of why we pardon some drug dealers and not other. But I'm not going to even look it up because you're 2 seconds away from saying he's a Nazi and a tyrant and whatever too. And I've already looked those ones up.
Haven't we been in situations where, like, to get our own hostages out of a situation, we will release other bad guys?
Yes.
So, like, how do you know there wasn't something behind that decision to benefit it? Like we just said, somebody's going to get hurt to save others. Mm-hmm. Something has to give to get something done. But you see it as, I didn't like this decision. We clearly aren't serious about this.
Right.
Like, our government really is not serious about this. We're just going to blow people up, blow up boats, kill innocent people because we're not serious.
Well, the rest of that charge, whether or not a drug dealer was pardoned, right? I'm going to make you complete the rest of that statement. So you think, right, that Trump really is a drug dealer friend, right? And he wants to destroy, he took a guy that does drug dealing and he wants to give them advantage by destroying his competition, and that I can play this out and where he would be elevated to and what his business prospects are put together as. And I would follow that to see if you're right. If this was just a drug dealer that needed to be put back on the street and got a way to get a presidential pardon so they can get back to dealing drugs.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
Unlikely,
but I'm still, like I said, still curious about it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Chicken Putty says, I think, Chicken Putty?
Chicken Putty. Chicken conspiracy.
I think, I'm going to call you Chicken Putty from now on. I think cancer already kills like 10 million a year. Maybe try the drug. Julie says, Kelin, look up Silk Road. And, Ross Albrecht. That's who you're talking about? The Silk Road guy?
What?
Oh,
Silk Road.
That is your drug dealer? Oh, my goodness.
50 years
do I have to
prison.
do a segment on Silk Road? I'm going to have to do a segment on Silk Road.
I don't even know what Silk Road is. Julie says, I assume nothing. Yes, you do.
That is a stretch to call him a drug dealer. You don't know what Silk Road is?
No.
This is probably every bit of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Silk Road was an underground website that people used in a peer-to-peer exchange of goods and services. A lot of illegal, illicit material were exchanged between two people.
Like the dark web?
Like the dark web. The original Silk Road was a way that if you wanted to buy some weed, right, you would go to the Silk Road, find someone who was selling weed. You would pay them money. They would package it in 3 boxes deep with sealed so the drug sniffing dogs couldn't find it. You'd receive a UPS package or a USPS package. They did everything via mail. You get a package in the mail and you take it. The other thing they did was do mule drops. Okay, so that there would be people who would find abandoned or mule houses. Like a guy from out of the country would come in. They would buy or rent a house. Okay, wouldn't really live there, but they would use the house to receive drug incoming shipments to their mailbox. And then if you wanted to receive it, you would drive to the mule house and you would collect the package that was waiting for you out of the drug house. And it facilitated a lot of drug exchanges instead of people standing on corners. So the guy that made the website wasn't the one selling the drugs or buying the drugs. He made the website that made all of that stuff possible. Okay. So to call him a drug dealer directly is not reality. He was not dealing the drugs himself. He was enabling and facilitating.
Like an accomplice.
It was an accomplice. That's the closest argument you can make to say that he was involved in the drug trade.
So, like, if you build a website
Mm-hmm.
for a company,
Yes,
And that's all you do. Someone's like, I'm hiring you to build me this site. And you did. And then they go and they use the site for nefarious things. Mm-hmm. They traffic. You're not a trafficker. You built the website.
I'm still a bad person because I knew that's how people were using my site.
Okay.
And I did it anyway.
You're an accomplice. Yeah.
I'm an accomplice. I facilitated. I'm definitely involved. Okay. So it would be like if there was a murder that happened.
Yeah.
And I knew what was going on and I drove that person. I didn't kill them.
The getaway guy still goes to jail.
Still goes to jail. So the argument is, did Ross go to jail? Yes, he went to 10 years. So 10, 15 years, whatever that was. Now take the rest of our criminal justice system. Take a similar crime. Were you an accomplice to something? And did he already spend enough time in prison, right, as a punishment for having done the accomplice to that? I can take people who murder someone and are out of jail in 6 months, right? So we do not have a firm grasp on what punishments equal.
So is that how that comes? Is she tying in the Silk Road site creator
with your drug dealer? Yeah,
with the drug dealers being pardoned. Was he pardoned or something?
He was pardoned by Trump. Yes, the Silk Road guy was pardoned. The accomplice.
Did he already serve time?
Yes. Last 15 years, 10 years, he's been in prison.
Somebody went to prison for 15 years and got out, and you're saying that that's somehow like he got what he didn't deserve? Is that it?
All right. Darknet Silk Road from 2011 to 2013, put in jail, so he's got 12 years.
Conspiracy to commit drug trafficking.
Yeah. Not a drug dealer, but complicit in drug dealings, went to prison for 10 years, got pardoned.
So, Julie, what do you think should have happened? Do you think he should have got life in prison? Do you think he should have never gotten pardoned? Like, I don't get how.
Let's see how long he was sentenced. Double life in prison plus 40 years.
So he would have died in prison.
Yes, he would have died in prison.
And Julie, do you think he should have died in prison? Ex-president of Honduras.
Oh, maybe there's another one then.
I like how Julie says, I assume nothing. With all due respect, Julie, yes, you do. I could find several instances you assume quite a bit.
Juan Orlando.
Trump pardon of convicted Honduran president.
Juan Orlando pardoned. Trump stated he felt like Hernandez was treated very harshly and unfairly and was a victim of a witch hunt or a Biden setup. He claims to have acted in response to pleas from Hondurans. In a letter to Trump, Honduras echoed the sentiment, arguing that he, like Trump, was a victim of political persecution, not legitimate criminal case. Longtime Trump ally Roger Stone reported lobbied for President on Hernandez's behalf, providing a letter from Hernandez. The pardon was issued shortly before a new presidential election in Honduras. A decision to criticize suggested was tied up to political dynamics and the U.S. administration's stance on Venezuela. Hernandez has been convicted in U.S. courts and sentenced to 45 years in prison for conspiring to import hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States, a case that prosecutors describe as one of the largest and most violent drug trafficking conspiracies. Evidence at trial showed he used his presidential powers to protect drug traffickers in exchange for millions in bribes. On the surface, sounds pretty freaking dirty.
Sounds pretty shady.
Joe wants to know more, so I will circle back and revisit this after I find out more about the justifications.
Yeah. Julie says, I think he should have gotten what the jury that heard the evidence said.
Okay, it's fair. And other than and a lot of these. You take what states are able to do and decriminalizing a lot of things that the jury says and taking some liberties, and we're not a real crime and punishment. We're very selective about who needs to serve time in prison for what they've done. And maybe that's the outcome where we standardize it so that no matter who you are, you get 3 strikes. You wouldn't have people that set other people on fire on a subway, having been arrested 72 times, right?
Yeah.
And then say, I take, punishments seriously when it comes to just my people I'm critical of.
Yeah. If we think pardoning people is like just a Trump thing, it's not. Everybody pardons people. Everybody makes excuses, like you said. Even at the level of somebody should not have been let go 14 times and given the opportunity to stab someone to death on a subway train.
Yeah.
That to me is another form of pardoning somebody who shouldn't have been. Like Brian says, we are complaining about the Trump pardons, but Biden pardons people that were never convicted nor accused of any crimes, but that is acceptable. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, everybody does it. It's, what can they use to their advantage?
Right. Yeah. And and I hold both. Like, it's really slimy to even have pardon powers. Like, what's the spirit? Why do you think a president should have a pardon power?
Should have a pardon power.
What's the real utility? It was invented. It was added as a legitimate thing in our government. Why would a pardon be necessary?
I do think that there are also cases of, how did they word it? Political persecution. Mm-hmm. Somebody coming after someone, using the legal system in an inappropriate way, trapping them. I do think that happens. So I could see a president being like, whoa, these people were way off base. You were their political opponent and they did everything they could to stifle you. And it was completely false. I could see someone pardoning that. I could even see someone being pardoned if they were sentenced in a super highly politically charged environment, like the whole, and I'm not trying to use his case specifically, but we have seen these moments in history where, because there is such a big spotlight on like race and police power and wokeness and just this really high temperature, high charge political issue, that somebody who does something is just like, the book is thrown at them, life in prison over something that would never have gone that far if it weren't such a politically high temperature charged time in history.
But it's always been. So the deal is, like, we do have systems that are easily abused, right?
Yeah.
For political purposes. So the president acting on doing something that the opposition doesn't like can take the legal system and tie it up and make it so that they can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And so there's immunities that are given to the president. So when he's operating in that capacity, he's not to be tied up by his enemies, throwing stuff at him.
Yeah.
Well, the downside of that is there's going to be a lot of things done that are illegal using that immunity standard, right? You're going to get into things that it just wasn't a pursuit. It wasn't someone abusing their power. It was you abusing your power because you can get away with it because of immunity. And because presidents are allowed to operate with that immunity, there are people that are surrounding them that don't have the immunity. So if you're working on a project with someone who can't be sued, we'll use pharmaceuticals. So you develop a drug that can save lives. And you say, I'm not even going to develop this drug unless you give me immunity that nobody can sue me, because I'm going to pursue selling this drug, but I don't want anybody to die. But if they do die, the amount that they can sue us for is more than I could ever make off of this drug. So give me immunity.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have the people that are working with you, maybe some subsidiaries that give you some of the components and the ingredients for making your drug. They don't have the immunity deal. So if I'm a lawyer, I find somebody who is not protected from the immunity, and I go after the low rung people that I needed to be able to develop the drug, right? And are going to do it because, they're hoping that everything goes well. So you might have a cabinet member that doesn't have part of the immunity, was following orders by the president who's covered by the immunity, but you're not. Now you go to prison because of something your boss told you to do, right? That their administration is protected from prosecution, but you as the helper to that thing are not. And some people get caught up in that trap where they go to prison as just a lower tier person on that staff. And I can see a president saying, do this for me. And if they come after you for this, I'll just pardon you the first chance that I get. I can see that kind of stuff going down.
Yeah.
It's very slimy. It makes me feel slimy that it's even possible.
How do you feel about the idea of like the FBI planting, I don't know if you'd call it a mole or a rat, a law enforcement agent in some sort of criminal organization to get information, and knowing you're interacting with the criminals, you are taking part in criminal activity, but you will not be charged because you're working for us in that instance. Does that feel slimy?
It does. But this is the warning for all libertarians that when you create a machine that has that much power and influence, this types of sophisticated corruption is assured, 100% certainty that this is going to happen. Almost like an operative that infiltrates a biker gang that does murder, and you can justify, right, that they're going to save lives by putting the biker gang down, but they're going to do criminal acts when they're there. So do you tolerate the criminal acts while they're doing the good thing, right? Again, this whole gradient of there's no virtuous decision that you have to make. Some of it is going to be slimy and dirty to that end. That is politics.
You're dealing with extremely dangerous, dirty criminals. It's going to be pretty hard to fight them squeaky clean.
And it's going to be hard to tell which one's the criminal and which one's the politician.
Yeah. You ever see The Departed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I like that movie.
Pardons, if done judiciously, are easier to swallow, but why should we take these boat blow-ups seriously if Trump clearly has no problem with drug dealers? It's a good question, and that's what I'm going to look into to see what, we're talking about somebody who was a drug dealer, and Trump says that I'm not going to blow this guy up for a reason. I want to know why he's not a target to the same kind of principle that you put on the runners. So if he's pro drugs and he just wants to get back in the marketplace to do what he's talented in, I have a big problem with that. But if he's a guy that caught up in a political scandal, working with the federal government to do something, and this is the payback for having worked with us to, criminal first, saw the light of day, helped us, like that might be the end.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's what I mean by assuming, is you are assuming, oh, I'm cool with drug dealers and I don't care about the war on drugs and I'm just all self-serving. And hey, that's possible.
Yeah. And I don't know that he's not.
But yeah, what if it is? This is a true situation of somebody who got hosed unnecessarily. I have more intel on blowing up the ships and why we should do it. And that is the best call to make. Like, you never assume he's done the right thing.
Right.
When you're always assuming he's doing the wrong thing for selfish reasons, that to me is a red flag. I'm not saying it never happens. And maybe he is always doing the selfish thing for the wrong reasons. But if you don't know and you just assume he is, that's what I mean by always assuming. And Carter says, but okay to pardon Hunter? Was it okay to pardon Hunter?
Did he do it or was it the auto pen? That's my
That's kind of what Brian says. He says, we 100%, we 100% know Biden's cognitive awareness of what he or those closest to him were actually signing.
But you do have to ask the question, like, if he was in good state, would he pardon his son for things? He would have absolutely made that one to protect his son, for sure. Yeah. I know in my heart, I don't know in, fact, that the Biden family is very corrupt in collecting money around the world for their political influence. So for him to be an extension, working on behalf of his dad to secure a lot of Burisma type of deals, right? That is something I'm really certain. I would put money on that one, that they were involved in corruption. So to then say, you helped me, I got a lot of checks because of you, I have the ability to pardon, there's no downside. What, are people just going to complain about it in the future? So what? I made my money, go off into the sunset, probably die of stage 4 cancer. They'll put a memorial up. They'll celebrate me at my funeral. My family's secure. All it cost was a pardon. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of why I never really put any stock in when people would always say, I don't like RFK Jr. because his own family doesn't support him. The family that works for the Biden administration, AKA a political entity, whether you like Biden or not, it's not a red flag to me if other politicians don't support another politician. That's just par for the course. That doesn't mean, oh, I guess we better not trust him because some other corrupt people don't like him.
It's a dramatic effect in storylines on Netflix. You find that the family doesn't, and you're like, ooh, why do they not? And it's dramatic. But in politics, I think family doesn't quite matter as much as the persuasions of the people who are doing it, like Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney, right? Why did, look at this Republican that Dick Cheney, the uber conservative, uber neocon, doesn't support Trump. And then ... I want... Fill in the dot. Tell me what what you're really saying here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a regular conservative to not agree with a neoconservative, I'm not shocked or surprised.
Yeah. Brian says preemptive. Did I miss one? Oh, yeah. Preemptive pardons for Fauci, even though he wasn't charged with anything, let alone convicted of any crime.
But let me point this out. He would have been embroiled in legal activities for political reasons. Just like if the Democrats take over the House and they have a majority, what are the chances that they're going to go after Trump and impeach him for the 97th time? If you're to put money on Polymarket that he gets impeached if there's a takeover by Democrats, how do I know this? How do you know this? How does everybody know that is exactly what's going to happen? Is it because that he's got all these crimes and it's just a matter of time? Or even before any crime, we're like, we're going to do it and we're going to dig until we find something to predicate it on. Yeah. Because it's just a system where the legal process is manipulated and corrupted by people who want to use that. Impeachment is just a part of any campaign. I don't even think if Republicans took over, right? And all of a sudden they're like, well, that strategy works, that they just won't take the next guy and try to indict him for felonies and try to impeach him because it's just another function of how we operate. If we can tag it and put that around his neck, we'll do it.
Yeah. Well, I struck a nerve with the great fourth wall. I assume Kellen's brain is smooth. Sick burn. Julie says,
what does that mean, by the way?
I think he's trying to imply I'm stupid. I don't know.
If I took out your brain and put it on the table, it's going to be slimy and smooth in each one of the lobes, and there's going to be some recesses between lobes. And would that mean if it wasn't smooth, that means that you don't have developed components in different areas of the brain, that it fused and made a super brain?
I have a super brain.
You might have a super brain because it's actually grown and it pushed. You ever see they make the watermelons, they put it in a mold and it grows into the mold, it becomes a different shape.
Yeah.
So it grew bigger than the thing and it took the shape of the thing. Maybe your brain grew, pushed against the skull, and it smoothed out the ridges. So now that it's smooth.
So I should take that as a compliment.
I'm going to throw it at you as a compliment.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Julie says it starts out as curiosity. Then I investigate. I don't just assume that's a cheap shot. Brian says Megamind.
You remember Megamind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew a guy once.
I don't remember the insult though. I'm sure it was
well, Megamind has that big brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I knew someone who was Megamind for Halloween one time. Totally nailed it. Looked just like him because he has this big bald head, and it was such a good costume.
Okay. And again, that's why I respect you, Julie, is that you do have curiosities. You do have bias that fuels your curiosities in one direction, where I think the energy that you put into, if you put it in objectively, you would take any new piece of information and you would pull your own thoughts about it away and just jump into the truth and only bring your own thoughts back after you've weighed it out. I think you put so much energy into things that you want to be bad about Trump, and it would almost be like the newspaper where I throw something at you and I learn more information. I put the retraction on page 9. I don't expect Julie to ever say, you might say it to yourself, but you don't use as much energy in the retraction as you do in the headline.
Yeah. And we love Julie, and I love interacting with Julie. But I disagree. I don't think it's a cheap shot. I do think you assume things. I think everybody does. When I say you assume, that's not a cut down. That's not something unique to you. That's not a flaw in your character. Everybody does it. I do think you do it sometimes. I do it sometimes.
I'm really the only person that doesn't do it.
You never assume.
No, I have a good relationship with things I know and things that I think, right? And so my verbiage isn't like, if I say something like, I think Social Security is a terrible vehicle for investment, right? That's my opinion, and I relayed that, communicated that to you. That's just my opinion about it. If I say mathematically, Social Security is going to collapse, that's something I know, and I didn't say I think it's going to collapse. So if you use sort of my filter on only saying when you know something, use an absolute when it's known and I can prove it and I can show you. What you think has to be sort of like a precursor, right? You have to put these are my thoughts, and I'm like, okay, well, I respect your thoughts. That's it. But when you represent one of your thoughts as something that is factual, even when the counter argument is put in front of you and you're still absolutely certain what you think is what is true, that's where I have that's where my exception happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can sort of, like when we were Googling that Honduran guy and his part, and we could be like, that seems kind of shady. That seems like there might be something there. I wonder what the history of that was. But if you say a statement like, he doesn't care, he's in the pocket of drug dealers, and he did a shady deal.
Okay, reword
There's assumption in
reword
that.
it. If you were Julie and you say that same thing, that we'll take the true points out of it and kind of let the rest be opinion. How would you state it?
I could say he pardoned this person. That's a fact. This is what the guy was originally charged with. That's a fact. It looks a little suspicious to me. And based on how I feel about Trump's personality and what I think his priorities are, I think he's pardoning people to benefit himself. And I would have been like, yeah, I could see how you coming to that conclusion.
Okay.
And there's no like factual statements like doesn't care about the war on drugs.
Is it likely that he doesn't care about the war on drugs?
Is it likely?
Is it likely? That to me, that's probably the lowest probability factor, being that he is blowing boats up.
Yeah, I can't imagine becoming president of the United States and all that comes with, all the hate and backlash and stress that comes with, to deal with these big issues. If you're like, I really don't care. Somebody really doesn't care is like, I'm not going to go do that. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to. No, like you're making major decisions. I don't think it's likely he just doesn't take it seriously.
Well, let's change the nouns though. Okay, let's do Zelensky. Zelensky, he is president of a country that has operated in corruption for my entire lifetime. So he is a villain in that he is a corrupt politician, right? Did a lot of the wrong thing over a period of time to get where he's at, right? So let's just say in the end, he goes to prison. And now I'm president and I'm like, I want to take Zelensky, the reformed guy that paid his consequence, and I want to pardon him. I want to bring him into my administration. And I want him to show me all of the things that he did as part of his corruption so that he's an expert in corruption because he was one of the corrupt. And I use him into my administration to clean up corruption using a guy that used to be the villain, right? And now I'm using his expertise and what he used to do to somewhat become a reformed hero.
Yeah. Kind of like when we interview prisoners.
That's right.
People serving time for doing something, and we need to know their mind.
Now, if I gave him a pardon, the people who didn't like the fact that I gave him a pardon would say, well, you don't take corruption seriously because you took a formerly corrupt person and you let him out of prison, and now he's close enough to you that you're doing business with. That's an argument.
Yeah. It's like the movie Suicide Squad, isn't it?
Yeah. They were the heroes, reformed heroes with a, yeah.
Yeah. You're a criminal, but we need your help.
Exactly. So that's where my curiosity, I want to find out which those two are, right?
Yeah.
Is this a corrupt deal where you're taking an ex-villain and you're going to use them to feed your ego or make you richer or whatever? Or are you taking a felon and somebody to help you out in your common or your current, current deal?
Do you think Bill Clinton, had he done today what he did in the 90s, I guess it was, with like Monica Lewinsky and that whole scandal. Do you think things would have ended differently for the Clintons if that was done today?
Yeah, I think he got a lot of punishment that he wouldn't get today.
You think?
Social punishment, yeah.
You don't think he would have gotten social punishment?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like politically he would have been more reamed today. I feel like people would have used that.
But if you picture back when he got television coverage and he was in front of Congress and what that would be a tenth of what it is today.
I could see that. That would have been like, oh, really? All you did is get caught.
Well, the Republicans took advantage of it and prosecuted him way further than they would anybody else. Today, they wouldn't waste time doing it because it would not be effective. Because so many people are doing that and worse.
It wouldn't be so shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from a social standpoint, less shocking. From a political standpoint, I think they would have tried to, Hillary Clinton went on to run for president and become still very active in politics. I wonder if they would have tarnished the whole Clinton family name more if it were done now.
Yeah, I just don't think it would be effective because we hurl accusations at literally everyone, and so who they land on and who you believe, you literally can't say worse than Nazi Hitler, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And so saying you're a philandering,
back then, that was a big deal.
That was a big deal because they were a little more noble than they are.
It was
right now.
way more pearl clutching.
Yes.
Today it would be like, oh, you got caught.
That's all you did?
You just got caught. Yeah. You're the one who got caught doing what everybody else does.
You didn't murder your cook. You didn't.
You didn't put a hit on someone. You didn't pardon someone.
It would be way different. Yeah.
Yeah. Julie says Zelensky just came into power to reform corruption? ?
I don't know. No, he just assumed the role of the corruptor in chief. And if you don't think that Zelensky is making bank off of sacrificing his country to what's going on with Russia, if you don't think that, he's got some brave moments where he's standing up to a superpower. But if you don't think he's making bank off it, there's, you don't understand that part of the world.
I don't really know much about Zelensky. I might have to. I gotta admit, I think of Tommy Boy when I hear his name. Is that Zelensky Tires or similar name?
Oh, similar. Zelensky.
Yeah.
Zelensky. I don't know. Now I think they're one and the same because of you.
Is it Zelensky? I'm sure it was spelled differently, but I can't help but think of Tommy Boy when I hear that name.
Okay. Zelensky.
I like it. Zelensky Tires. Zelensky. We're gonna have to Google it.
So anyway, yes, we expect other countries that don't have the industries we do, that operate the same way and do it somewhat legit. Those parts of the world, they are wrought with corruption as part of their status quo. And so even if Zelensky was a reformer, he would be corruption light. It's still the major industry.
Yeah. Carter says Clinton was not impeached because of Monica, but because he lied to Congress. Yeah, and I'm not even talking about why they impeached him. I'm just saying his reputation, the family's ability to continue in politics, all of that. Would that be different today if that had happened today?
Yeah, totally.
Or how about, wasn't it JFK? Was he involved with like Marilyn Monroe and all kinds of...
Oh, yeah.
And he was well-liked.
He was well-liked.
That would probably be different today. Or no?
I don't think it would. No, we'd know about it and we'd be like, okay, you're not as bad as the worst of us, so you give you a pass on.
Like, why does it feel like Clinton got more hate for what he did than JFK got for what he did?
I don't know. I just think he was beloved in a different way.
Like people were willing to turn a blind eye.
Yeah, he's this young, hot guy.
They're like, of course Marilyn Monroe's going to hook up with him. Right. This makes sense.
It does. Yeah, we let him get away with a lot. But I'm sure, I am sure that a lot more of that went on throughout history than the media was able to cover back in those times. So it's par for the course. I'm not surprised.
So if you think we had somebody come out today and get caught, like really caught, like evidence, there's no denying it, in a scandal with like another woman or something, would it be a bigger deal or not as big of a deal?
Just with relational stuff, or you're talking any crime?
Like in politics, if a politician were to be caught like with a like not like a trafficking, but a consenting adult taboo
tomorrow
relationship.
in the newspaper, Trump went to Youngstown, Ohio, and he got a hotel room, and he had sex with somebody from Youngstown, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
What the headlines would read. Would his presidency be over because he did that? Or would most of us be like, I know he's that guy, so probably.
I feel like the general consensus of normal people would be like, oh, shocker. But I think the media would have a field day in an attempt to keep that. Like, we need this. We need a strike against him. I think they use it as a political pawn. So I think.
But he's a mud monster. I don't think that works. I don't.
But what if it wasn't him? What if it wasn't someone so obvious?
I don't think that matters.
I think it would be socially not surprising, but politically blown out of proportion because it was
talk
there.
About it, but I don't think it does anything. I really don't.
It won't do anything much. But let's see. Julie, are you not assuming a lot
about Europe and about Crimea and those Eastern Bloc? I'm going to say that I know the area well enough to make the assumption that corruption was the status quo. I will, and if you can prove to me if I'm wrong, I'm willing to hear it. But everything that I've looked into, read, says that part of the world does not operate like the good old United States.
Carter says, if I was married to Hillary, Bill was justified with Monica.
Yeah.
They gave him a free pass. I like Zelensky versus Zelensky. Pronounced the same, but spelled differently.
There we go.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. I got to go watch Tommy Boy again.
Okay. What else? We did politics almost the whole time. Give me something fun.
What else?
To nightcap this one.
Something fun.
Usually I give you first strike at these things, and then you usually talk about something that I just kind of gloss over for the first 15 minutes.
I know. What you usually do is say, I don't care, Kelin. Your topics are unimportant and uninteresting, and I'm going to go ahead and push past them and get into something I want to talk about.
Yeah, but at least I give you first crack. You could.
Like, I give you that opportunity.
You could blow me away, and sometimes you do.
Sounds a little condescending, but all right.
What?
This is why your viewers are like, you're so mean to Kelin. Quit being mean to Kelin.
That was a mean statement?
Not mean. Maybe what could have come off as condescending. A smidgen.
Okay.
Maybe.
Hey, you have
somebody back me up here.
Do I don't regulate what it is that you say. That's up to you completely.
Yes.
You're bringing those things to the table. You're in control.
What do I want to bring to the table? I know I just saw something recently and I thought about talking about it. What the heck was it? I think it was local. What was it?
Did you watch the YSU game, by the way?
No, but I hear there's some sort of like what's the word? Drama there or something. What happened?
Oh my goodness. I went to the game.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. We played Yale, and it was the first round of the playoffs, and it was hosted right here in Youngstown. Mm-hmm. And leading up to the game, the hotel went to full capacity. We had a bunch of out-of-towners that could enjoy our city. Super excited.
The hotel down here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So we had about a Yale'ites that were hitting the nightlife in Youngstown and hitting our restaurants and our entertainment. That was kind of cool to be able to host something like that.
Yeah.
Went to the game. At halftime, it was like 47-14. YSU was dominating in the first half.
Oh, I did hear about this.
47-14.
Yeah.
And it went to shit in the last half of it. And they really, I've never seen, I really cannot remember any games that I've ever watched that was that lopsided at the half, and they were not able to manage whatever
Yeah.
to seal it off.
And we lost.
We lost by 1 point.
I did hear about that we had such a huge lead and then
it was bad.
To lose it in the end.
Now, if you looked at the field, the players for Yale were like 1.5 times all of our players' size, right? They were huge boys on both sides of the ball, right? And so I thought, okay, well, our team's smaller, faster. We're gonna have to outscore them because they're when your secondary is half the size of the people that are running at you, like they're gonna get some yards. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna score a lot. You just have to score more. When you get to half, knowing that you're just gonna have to outgun them the rest of the game, then you think that there's a good chance. All you got to do is keep doing what you're doing and hold them back as much as you can. You know they're going to put up some more points, but we shit the bed in that second half where they did score, right? But we stopped scoring. We stopped running the offense that we did in the first half. Couldn't complete passes, couldn't run routes, couldn't run the ball. Like it was really embarrassing in that game.
Well, I did like that Ohio State beat Michigan.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
There's a lot of people talking about the response to that, mainly like Ohio's response versus Michigan's response when they won. And any thoughts on that as far as the decorum or how it was handled, or do you think that was just?
You know, I'm one of those people, like when you know that the potential to cause problems, but you like the drama because it's good for viewership, what you're willing to tolerate. So if you want teams to be able to plant their flag in the middle of the field and disrespect and not be good, I would tell my kid, I would say, when you beat them, you show everything on the field and you shake their hand at the end, and they tried, they're already, you fed them what they needed to be fed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you be a good sport about it, and you show that you're a good person. Right.
Yeah.
So planting the flag or disrespecting the other team, that's just, I don't know, that's juvenile, and that's not what I would teach people to emulate.
Yeah. I would not sort of bouncing back to the other topic when you had mentioned that the nightlife in Youngstown sort of had all new visitors and had some good business. It would be interesting to hear some feedback from some of the local businesses about that, because you think like, well, when we have major events here, does that in fact stimulate the restaurant, bar, nightlife areas? And the only reason I bring this up is I don't know what happened here. I do not know. There could have been other factors at play and other variables that made this make sense. But I have two good friends of mine that attempted to go out after one of the most recent concerts downtown. I think the amphitheater got like, was it Lee Bryce or some concert came to town, and they went and they attempted to go to the bars afterwards and were denied access. Some bouncer at the door, they said, looked at them and goes, no. And they're like, what are you talking about? We can't come in. And they're like, I mean, do you know someone in here? Do you know of any, like, wanted them to name drop? And they're like, no, we were just going to come in. And he's like, no. And they're like, what the hell was that about? And that's rubbed me the wrong way. And I'd love to know what the heck happened there.
Like a private party or something like that?
That was my first question is, was there a private party? Was it the band? Was it an area that had been rented out? They're like, I don't think so. They said, I don't think so. And they said it was interesting, the demographic that they were not. And they wondered if that was why. And they don't want to assume that, but they said it was pretty odd that they just sort of got looked at and they were like, nah.
Well, the business,
it wasn't, and they didn't say this is a private party or anything like that.
Yeah, the owners that I talked to, they look forward to the venues because it does, or the venues that come to Covelli Center, and they look forward to it because it does bring in new people through the door. They're open, they stop, get extra people on staff to field out the extra stuff. So they're not looking to turn people away from what I hear.
And I would even think that somebody running the door would say, sorry, ladies, not tonight. We actually have a private party. They've rented this space, blah, blah, blah. No, none of that was said. Just
Yeah,
Do you know anyone? Otherwise, no.
I've never heard that, never seen that.
I was very surprised to hear that. I want to look into it.
It sounds like somebody was looking to have some discrimination or something like that.
Yeah.
Looking for victimhood. So I want to know more.
I do too. I'm going to dig into that.
All right, we're going to get out of here for today. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us